Hey everyone, it's Lydia with Good Deep Sleep, and it's nice to see you. Thank you so much for showing up and checking out my video. So, I work with individuals who struggle with sleep, and I provide amazing hypnotherapy for them as well as beautiful recordings they listen to at night. Please subscribe to my channel so that you can get more of these videos if you're someone who struggles with sleep. I'm going to just talk a little bit today about the 6 to 8 hours that each of us needs per day to maintain a healthy lifestyle and a healthy body, healthy in mind and body. The experts say between 6 and 8 hours is what is required. And anything less than that, I mean, 5 for a couple of days is probably okay. Excuse me for that truck, is probably okay. But if you struggle with lack of sleep, over time, these hours accrue. It's not like your body says, oh, yeah, that was yesterday. Your cells, your tissues, they all begin to give us warning signs that things aren't what they should be. Every one of us should be getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep per day. Here I'm going to take my glasses off. 6 to 8 hours of sleep per day is kind of like 8 glasses of water, or eating a sufficient number of calories every day. We need to support our physical bodies with enough food to keep us healthy. We need to support our physical bodies with sleep in order for the body to be able to repair tissues in the body at the physical level, but also the memories impacted. So we compress and store memories during our sleep. And I'm not a doctor. You can look this kind of scientific data up on the web, should you want more information or get some books. But I'm just saying in general that sleep impacts our memory, and when we don't get enough sleep, our memory is impaired. So when we don't get enough sleep, it adversely affects our memory. But I wanted to start with number one. If you're someone who doesn't get enough sleep, if you're struggling with sleep, the first thing that we really need to watch out for is accidents. I learned today, just by looking on the web and deciding on a topic for today, that 3 Mile Island, that nuclear power accident, occurred because somebody had worked probably too long a shift, right, or back-to-back shifts, and hadn't gotten enough sleep. That's scary. I remember I've had several major surgical procedures, and I remember, realizing that, I mean, a lot of us know a lot of doctors don't get enough sleep, particularly ER docs. And so I remember being wheeled into the OR. You're awake for a little while before the anesthesiologist kicks in your drugs. I remember saying, I hope all of you have gotten enough sleep, because that's sort of scary, especially med students, right? In med school, they don't get enough sleep, and then they're like on the floor treating patients, and that's scary too. So anyway, accidents can happen when we don't get enough sleep. Number two, it dumbs you down. So, and what do we mean by that? It means the synapses, the connections in the brain aren't firing the way they should be. So you're not thinking clearly, you're not thinking easily, it's effortful, right? You're foggy. And who wants to come across that way? Don't you want to come across as being your best self, right? At a minimum, you want to come across as being able to think clearly. Number three, health problems. Okay, there's heart disease, there's heart attack, there's heart arrhythmias, meaning your heart doesn't beat evenly, high blood pressure, stroke, and diabetes. Well, high blood pressure is associated with diabetes. Gaining weight is on the list too. Gaining weight, diabetes, high blood pressure sort of go together. And there is an epidemic of not only obesity in this country, but diabetes in this country. And, it'd be really interesting to see how much of diabetes and how much of obesity can be traced back to sleep. I mean, there's so many variables, and they're sort of all intertwined, aren't they? But let's just stick with these physical heart-related issues. You're at a higher risk for heart disease. You're at a higher risk for developing diabetes. You're at a higher risk for heart attack. These are scary things. These are frightening things. So if you're struggling with sleep, reach out and invest in yourself. You're investing not only in the course I provide you, which is very small when compared to the rest of your life, when compared to avoiding heart attacks or reducing your chance of heart attacks, when compared to avoiding your risk of high blood pressure, which then leads to other things like diabetes, right? So it's really no brainer when you think about investing a small amount of money in the rest of your life. Because like, think about it. What price can you put on the living out the rest of your life? You know, how are you going to ever measure that, financially? Okay, so after all these health issues, diabetes, heart attacks, high blood pressure, heart disease, heart attack, heart failure, number 4 is kills the sex drive. All right, so sex is good. Sex is important. Sex keeps the species going. Sex is pleasurable. Sex is a good thing. And sex keeps our relationships intact, right? So if a couple stops having sex, and I know this from experience, you begin to, it's so easy to drift apart. It's very challenging to stay together. You've got to be very conscious, both parties, right? Have to be very, if you're not having sex, you have to be very conscious about staying together and communicating and making sure you're on the same page. Is much easier if you're having sex, because then you're just communicating non-verbally, you're physically connected, you're intimate, you're getting those endorphins, you're getting that pleasure. It's just all good, right? And if you're not having sex, it's really sort of the beginning of something really tricky. I mean, I know from personal experience, it's very sad, when you start going your own ways. It's just very, very tough to keep the relationship together. Not to mention the fact that it's healthy for the physical body to have orgasm. It's healthy for us to have sex. We're meant to have sex, right? So it kills the sex drive. Number 5, it can cause depression. There's a real link between depression and insomnia. There's a high percentage of people who struggle with insomnia who are also depressed. It's not the way to live your life. Trying to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night can help with depression, can reduce the symptoms of depression. So that's another one. Number 6, it ages the skin. And like if you're getting enough sleep, then maybe you don't need to have those expensive procedures. I personally don't believe in them. But it ages the skin, just like smoking will age the skin and sun will age the skin. Lack of sleep also ages the skin. We start looking sallow, we look pale, we're just not looking fresh and alive and vibrant. Okay, number 7, it makes you forgetful. Well, that's sort of obvious, right? It's very difficult to get our minds functioning properly if we're not getting enough sleep. And we can't afford to be forgetful today, these days, with so much going on in our lives. If you are a parent, you can't afford to be forgetful. There's, being a parent requires so much energy and so much attention to what your child needs on any given day. And if you've got 2 kids, that's double the focus and double the attention. And then what about if you have a spouse, you want to pay attention to them? There's a whole host of things you could be forgetting with regard to your relationship, not to mention your work, right? Or the after school activities that your kids have. But work, like, let's just take work all by itself. You can't afford to be forgetful at work. Lack of sleep impacts work performance. Wouldn't you want to put yourself in a position of getting a good sleep so that work performance, not only will you maintain a stable work performance, but what about improving work performance? What about doing better at work? What about getting a promotion? What about getting a raise? What about exceeding expectations or exceeding output goals, right? All of that's really good. Why not that? Why not choose that? Okay. Number 8 is weight gain. So this is insidious. This is insidious. This will happen slowly over time. But, after 5 years of struggling with your sleep, chances are really good that you can look back at year number 1 and see that you were a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit thinner, because you've got these hours in the middle of the night where you might be eating. Or there's that, or there's just not making good choices. And why aren't you making good choices? Because you're not thinking clearly. You're not thinking clearly. You're being forgetful. You're depressed. You're not thinking clearly. You're not all there. And weight gain is dangerous. That circles back to heart issues. If you are overweight, you have a higher chance of developing high blood pressure, and you have a higher chance of heart attack. It may increase your risk of death. And so this was from the web. I mean, that's very general, but a heart attack, you can die from a heart attack, which was up at number 3, right? Number 3 was heart health problems. So may increase your risk of death. Whoops. Okay, and then number 10 impairs judgment, especially about sleep issues. So this is a catch-22. For those of us who aren't sleeping well, we're not thinking clearly about a lot of things in life, and we're not thinking clearly about our sleep issues and how important they are. You're not thinking clearly. Your judgment is being impaired by the fact that you're not sleeping well. You're not getting enough sleep. Your judgment is being impaired. So you're not able to determine, you're not able to make that determination that you need some help. You may need to ask those around you, your loved ones, whether or not they see that you need some help. That's a catch-22. How are you going to do anything about that? Anyway, I wanted to come on today, and that was my focus. There are big, huge, important reasons to get a good sleep. And there are big, huge, important reasons to invest in your sleep. Meaning there are big, huge, important reasons to invest in your life. When you invest in your sleep, you invest in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, you invest in your life. And so that's what I'm here today to share. I appreciate your stopping by. Thank you so much for listening, and please subscribe down below. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.